Hello and welcome back. That was Summer Game Fest right here on IGN Summer of Gaming. We put out the call on Twitter for all of you watching at home to let us know what you thought of Summer Game Fest using the hashtag IGN Summer of Gaming. And Horrible Tarantula said Sandland is the most excited I've ever been about sand.
I get that.
Yeah.
The opposite.
They look pretty good.
The opposite. I wonder. I bet even Anakin Skywalker is excited about that game.
It's Toriyama. It's the Dragon Ball guy.
Yeah.
And it's an entire game based on a one-off manga he put out in 2000. So the game will inevitably be much larger than the entirety of that comic.
So what's the gist of the manga?
You're a demon with a tank.
Okay.
Yep.
That sounds like
it's
a
a land
good
of sand.
video game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there was so many games shown off during that show, very lengthy show. Let's talk about the big stuff. Maybe for the sake of recency bias, should we start with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth? Now we know it's coming early 2024 on 2 discs.
Now even bigger.
When was the last time a game was on multiple discs? We've also
I mean, we have 120 gigabyte games that
yes,
that you just have to download stuff for.
In this generation, we've reached a game that's finally too big to be on one.
I feel like that's a nostalgia play.
You think so?
Yeah. I mean, you get games where you pop them in, there's a mandatory update because the stuff on the disc doesn't fit on the disc, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess if you consider even the first part of the game, it's 3 discs now, and then there'll be more discs for the final part of the trilogy as well. Max, are you excited about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I didn't love about the first part is that it didn't, there are parts of it that were big and open, but it still felt fairly linear in chunks, and I don't know, I love that this looks like they're, expanding out in the world. And I mean, it makes sense for the, Midgar portions to be kind of more closed off, and I love Final Fantasy 15, like I love the world structure of that, and this looks like more of that, and chocobos!
We got chocobos.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, this game certainly looks very, very pretty. I was a little surprised that they did end up showing this because we've got Final Fantasy 16 coming out in just a few weeks. I thought maybe they'd want to focus on that, get that out the door first, and then sort of ramp up the promo for Final Fantasy 7. Ryan, how about you?
A little surprising, but also everybody's been waiting for this for a long time. I guess, so are we going to land on, it's going to cost $180 or maybe $210 to have for the full
the whole
Final
thing?
Fantasy 7 remake?
I guess so, because this one presumably will be $70.
Presumably,
Well,
yeah.
it's actually going to be more of that if you count the the side story and get all that in there.
But hey, if it's, each one's great. I mean, the first part was excellent, so I mean, they're throwing a ton of production value at this and a ton of talent. So I have no doubt that it's going to be a big deal in early 2024.
Yeah, still waiting on an exact release date, but at least now we know. I think they were just saying like winter 2023, I think last time. So now we know it's not coming like in December of this year. Yeah. Hopefully Q1 2024. They opened the show with Mortal Kombat 1, first gameplay reveal. Ryan, did you feel satisfied by what we saw?
Yeah, that looked great. I mean, it is really pretty. I mean, whatever, I don't know what engine they're using or if it's in-house tech, but whatever it is, it looks fantastic. They've managed to strike this right tone. I mean, this isn't the first game to do this, the first Mortal Kombat, but they've just got it dialed in where the fatalities are legitimately disgusting, but also like tongue-in-cheek funny enough to not be like overly serious and get senators and Congress people coming after them like back in the day. Yeah, the whole, I mean, I never thought I'd see the word cameo, K-A-M-E-O, ever again since playing that Xbox 360 launch game from Rare. So that was a fun little surprise to go with it. But yeah, I mean, this game's, Mortal Kombat 1 is going to be a juggernaut this fall. So it's going to be huge.
I made a joke somewhere about wanting an origin story for Kung Lao's hat, and we get that. Like he throws the hat, and it does what a hat would do, as you'd expect, and he throws a saw blade. I'm extremely into that. Yeah. The environments in this look amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't
really
know if we'll
gorgeous.
see it here, but there's like a battle in front of a swimming pool, and I was like, I want to be in that swimming pool.
Yeah.
It looks so good. John, I think you were saying that there it is.
Right here.
You're saying that they maybe sort of cranking up the humor a little bit this time around.
Yeah, big time. I mean, it's always had a bit of a sense of humor, but it drifted over the years, right? And it started to take itself a little bit seriously at times. But I think, as Ryan was saying, I mean, like clearly, I mean, look at it. I mean, it's clearly ridiculous. But I thought there were a lot of little like visual gags in it, which I think while we were watching, we were noticing that Ed himself seems more comfortable talking about Mortal Kombat than he ever has. And I think that comes across in the footage of the game as well, in that it seems more confident in itself than ever. And that they don't mind doing a funny little aside because the lore doesn't have to be taken super seriously.
No, I think when it showed up, it was sort of seen as like, there was that whole Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat back and forth. And like, Mortal Kombat is its own thing. It's 30 years old. You turn 30, you get a little more confident. You're, on top of your thing, hopefully. But yeah, I mean, they have had that weird balance of humor and seriousness. They don't usually put the humor, I feel like, front and center around the reveal. It's usually like a very, gnarly showdown between Sub-Zero and Scorpion or whatever. But yeah, like Kano blows a snot rocket on the character select screen.
Yeah.
You got. This is the whole cameo system where like you basically have assists, which are treated almost like moves in and of themselves. I love how they just run in and out. Like
stagehands.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen so many games that have this, but it's usually really dramatic and stylized. Like somebody just flies in and then flies out. Just to have them running back and forth is like, I guess it's realistic, but in a completely ludicrous way.
Yeah. And Ed Boon was saying it's apparently very easy to, it's assigned to one button. And you can call in, they can do different moves depending on what button you press. So that seems like a lot of fun. We knew that Jean-Claude Van Damme was coming as a skin for Johnny Cage, but we also got confirmation that his voice is going to be added to the game too. So it'd be nice to hear Van Damme as well. Mortal Kombat 1 is coming September 19th. I'm sorry. Very excited for that one. Ryan, what did you think about what we got to see of Alan Wake 2?
It's my pick for the game of this show. That was my favorite thing in these 2 hours. I mean, Mortal Kombat was up there for sure, but I mean, Alan Wake, as somebody, again, that I said in the pre-show, I've loved the first game since it came out for the 360, and it's kind of improbable that we're actually finally getting a sequel after all these years, and it looks phenomenal. Like, again, the tech, their in-house tech looks great, but the sort of dual storylines and when Sam came out on stage with Geoff, and it seemed like Geoff was maybe accidentally gave a plot point away there from the way about Alan Wake having written the story that's playing out. I mean, not that that's like you probably guessed that if you played the first game, but being able to kind of go back and forth whenever you want, it was what was suggested there by Sam with the two storylines. So. And again, just diving full headfirst into survival horror.
Right. Oh man.
Much more so than the first game. This is.
What's the name of the engine again?
Northlight. It looks their in-house technology.
Like really foliage looks so good. The leaves blowing on the ground.
I mean, they've got some talented folks over there, and I just think, I know there's some folks out there legitimately upset that there's not a physical edition of this. Which I agree is, you should always have a choice as a gamer. There's the idea of just game preservation. The fact that it's digital only, it could go away at any time if a server gets shut off of what have you. So I agree. I would love to see a physical version, and hopefully that'll get rectified post-release somehow. They'll just, whether they partner with an IM8-bit or one of these people to do a physical edition later. But as far as the game itself, this looks great.
Yeah, I love. There's a wound system that they've implemented in the game. It seems very gruesome and gory, where you're actually shooting off parts of their clothing and revealing their insides. I like it.
Gnarly.
Yeah. John, what do you think about the idea that there's two playable characters now, and when you start playing Alan Wake 2, you won't be playing as Alan Wake?
I think. I mean, it's not the first time we've seen games that sort of switch things up on you. Some famous ones. I think the vibe of it is great, and I think like seeing the world through another character's eyes is a really, it's sort of efficient way to do that, right? And I think, we were chatting when we saw it in the show that it has a bit of a True Detective vibe. I mean, until the giant man jumps through the wall, which I don't think happened in True Detective at all. But it has that kind of like kind of dark creepiness. They really kind of zeroed in on that, and kind of. I think the atmosphere of it strikes me as much more kind of like oppressive than the original. Like, I mean, the first one, it was, my memory of playing Alan Wake was that it was very gray.
Well, it was out
foggy,
in the woods.
Right? It was out in the woods, and it was very foggy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a couple of console generations
but
ago
I think this
point.
one, the atmosphere and the look of it, I feel like it was, they really nailed the vibe with this one.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, one of the nicest surprises we got at the show was finally the release date for Spider-Man 2, and that's going to be October 20th, not the rumored September release date, to go up right against Starfield.
Yeah, everybody at Microsoft just did a sigh of relief. Not, they're obviously apples and oranges, but
Sure.
it would have been Microsoft's, for now, one big fall game. I suspect Forza Motorsport's going to be added in there as well come the Xbox showcase on Sunday. But yeah, I mean, forget about what the corporations think. I mean, just as a gamer who's really excited for both of those games,
Yeah.
I'm glad I won't have to try and juggle playing Starfield and Spider-Man 2 at the same time.
Yeah.
Weird takeaway from that is they said that Venom isn't Eddie Brock.
Right.
It's an original story.
I was going to ask you who you thought it would be.
I hope it's Flash Thompson, who has been Venom,
Yeah.
which is weird. Was he the Punisher? Punisher was Venom. Everyone's been Venom at some point in the MCU, Marvel Universe at this point. But like, I do appreciate that they are confident enough in their storytelling abilities that they're not just retreading familiar ground.
Yeah.
And like, we saw them kind of take some liberties and change some stuff, here and there in the in the first game. And yeah, go nuts. Do what you got to do. Like, I'm here for it. My money's on Harry Osborn, though. I think in all seriousness.
Yeah, I think that's heavily rumored. We got to look at the box art, which looks very nice. And Max is someone who hosts a PlayStation show. It's got to be nice to know, like, this is when PlayStation's big fall game is coming out now, October 20th.
Yeah, no, it's good timing. I guess I got a weekend to burn through Alan Wake,
Yeah, hurry up, 3 days.
Yeah, no, it's cool, and it's good because we talk about like good spooky season Halloween games. They've said they're kind of leaning into horror in this one a little bit. Like Venom is
works for that, yeah.
He's a ooze from outer space who eats people.
Sonic Superstars was kind of a pleasant surprise from the show.
2.5D
Yeah.
Sonic. That was great. I mean, that I'll be curious how the younger Sonic fans take to that, who grew up with 3D Sonic. But for me, who bought a Genesis back in the day because of Sonic the Hedgehog, that just looked. I like that they're not doing. I mean, they've done the pixel art thing before, right?
Yeah.
So this is just like a modern visual take on the original 2D Sonic, and I mean the color palette's beautiful, the characters look great, the worlds look great, and it looks fast, and they're trying a few different little things with they give them some new moves, swimming up waterfalls, and this looks like a treat.
Yeah, this looks really nice, and I'm not even a Sonic guy, but I have to admit that this looks really cool. Adapting the old 16-bit gameplay, the art style that they've chosen to go with here looks very nice.
Yeah.
John, this is coming out this fall.
Yeah, and I think what I loved about this and the Prince of Persia game, The Lost Crown, is that sort of confident reinvent, like going back doing a 2D game, but confidently switching up the artwork. Like, we saw some games today that had some like really inconsistent art mixes. The dwarf game.
What the hell is that?
Return to Moria?
The Moria thing, where the environments look great, but the character art was a little funky, and like. But I feel like Sonic and Prince of Persia are so confident in the way that they look.
I feel like Prince of Persia is a little bit too modernized. Like, I grew up with the original Shadow and the Flame and stuff, and like that has a very kind of simple, clean aesthetic to it. And this feels like a little more. Like, it's got a little more sharp edge. It's more video gamey, It's got some sharp edges.
It's a little Fortnite-y in its art style, right?
Which I'm fine with.
Yeah.
That's okay. If that means they can focus more on the game itself, then cool.
Well, and we should probably clarify that this is not the Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remake that was announced a long time ago and is sort of like indefinitely on hold. Right?
Yeah, there's something still Ubisoft Montreal starting that project over by all accounts, and this is back in it's the 2D Prince of Persia again.
Yeah, I want to talk more about that Prince of Persia game, but we're going to take a quick break first. Stick around, lots more IGN Summer of Gaming still to come, including exclusive looks at Immortals of Avium and Warhaven.
IGN Summer of Gaming is presented by Lenovo Legion with 13th gen Intel Core processors. Beyond performance.
This is IGN Summer of Gaming, and we're wrapping up everything from Summer Game Fest. In just a bit, we've got closer looks at new gameplay from Immortals of Avium, and another look at Warhaven. But first, before the break, we were talking about Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, a new Prince of Persia 2D Metroidvania that was just announced during Summer Game Fest. This is not the Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remake that is in development hell right now. This is something totally new, and I'm all for it. I don't mind. I like Prince of Persia in general, and I like 2D Metroidvania games. I think this is one of the highlights of the show for me. I have the official sort of plot synopsis from Ubisoft here. It says, in this brand new adventure, players will embody Sargon, a young, gifted warrior and member of an elite group called the Immortals. As they are sent to rescue Prince Ghassan, they will explore Mount Kof, a once wondrous place now cursed and hostile. Sargon and his brothers in arms will soon discover that time itself will be a treacherous foe and that the world balance must be restored. So yeah, I'm excited for this, but I was trying to think, I can't think of another Metroidvania that Ubisoft has made.
No, I don't think so. No.
So this is sort of new. It's new territory for them.
Yeah.
Maybe what I hope they did is just sort of follow the Metroid Dread blueprint.
Yeah. I've been sort of going through some sort of self-reflection on why am I so excited about this. I think it was just I wasn't expecting it, and it does evoke, like, I mean, I kind of grew up playing the original Prince of Persia game, and it wasn't a Metroidvania. It was just a platform game, right? But I think like there's something about this that just looks really cool, and like I wasn't expecting it at all. And I think I'm sort of like I'm disproportionately weighting it in terms of things that were announced today that I'm excited about.
I wonder if there will be a separate mode, a separate timed mode that gives you 60 minutes to finish the game, like the original.
Well, speedrunners will certainly test to see if that's even possible. Like I said, I don't mind a 2D Metroidvania game. But do you think is that like a hurdle that they have to overcome with some gamers who might be disappointed that it's 2D?
No, I think once people, I mean, I think for a lot of, we're, again, as I said in the pre-show, most of us, we're old. So
yes.
When we think old school Prince of Persia, we think of the actual original game, but old school Prince of Persia, to probably a lot of our viewers,
You don't want to know how many years ago that was.
is Sands of Time, which is, as you said, Damon, is trapped. The remake of which is trapped in development hell, and so a lot of our audience may not have that sort of nostalgia or affinity for this style, the Lost Crown style of old school.
You know what
gameplay.
is especially nice about this though? This and Sonic is they look small, like they look like small. This is not going to be an 80-hour game,
Right.
I don't think.
It also doesn't look like a $70 game.
No, and it's. I mean, we've kind of seen the death of AA games. And as great as it is to get these massive games, it is also, I don't know. There's a certain fatigue that comes with that, and it's. I mean, 2023 is a absolutely bonkers year for huge game releases. It's kind of nice to have like a little thing here and there to kind of pad it out, like a little.
Gaming's middle class.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing.
I could see playing this on like Steam Deck a lot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that'll be a good
Right?
menu for it. Yeah.
Yeah, this was a pleasant surprise, and the official description sounds like it's just a Metroidvania to a T. By acquiring new time powers, unlocking unique abilities, and combining them in combat, Sargon will progressively delve deeper into Mount Kof, solving puzzles, finding secrets, completing exciting side quests. Yep. That sounds sounds great to me. Ubisoft will be sharing more details on Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown at its Ubisoft Forward event, which is on Monday.
Monday,
On this
Monday morning.
So definitely stick with IGN for more as soon as that information.
The Rayman Legends developers.
Available. Oh, Rayman Legends.
Yeah.
That's
Very
promising.
cool.
They know how to do it.
Who had John Carpenter showing up, at least his name showing up on their bingo card for Summer Game Fest today? Because John Carpenter's Toxic Commando is a real game. Definitely got sort of, I don't know, Left 4 Dead vibes, like goofy Left 4 Dead vibes.
Yep. And
Cooperative zombie.
a little Dead Rising.
Yes, yeah, Dead Rising. A silly cooperative zombie shooter.
If it didn't say John Carpenter in big letters, there's nothing in there that would indicate it's John Carpenter.
Well, and it remains to be seen how involved
Yeah.
John Carpenter is.
Also, Toxic Commando makes me think Troma more than John Carpenter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was sort of not wild about this initially. It definitely gave me like Days Gone vibe, which I know a lot of people love. The truck stuff. It looks like you customize your vehicle, whatever it is, and put a bunch of zombie killing stuff on the side of it, a la Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, which I'm down for. That sounds great. When it sort of veered into goofiness and like over the top weapons and kind of, I feel like more the Dead Rising approach rather than the somber, serious post-apocalypse things. And also, they're not conventional zombies. There's some other sort
I think they're called Infected or something like that.
Yeah, but it's looking like there's some kind of, I don't know, other dimensional sorcery at play rather than just your typical zombie.
And it looked like there is some on-foot stuff, but it seemed that trailer seems to indicate that a lot of the gameplay will be vehicle-centric, which I think could be really fun.
Yeah, it's I think it's the same developer as the World War Z.
Oh,
so there's some
great.
experience
Great.
there.
Fantastic.
The official description tells us the game takes place in the near future when an experimental attempt to harness the power of the Earth's core ends up in the release of the Sludge God.
Oh.
Sludge God.
Yeah.
Okay.
An eldritch abomination that turns soil into scum and the living into undead monsters.
Well, fantastic.
Yeah, it's good. They had a cover of Living on a Prayer by John Bon Jovi in there. I don't know how expensive the rights are these days.
If they get John Carpenter to do original music for it, I'm there for it.
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's hard. I love John Carpenter. I just think it's really hard to get him to do anything these days.
It will very quickly tweet about Ratchet and Clank.
He will do that. Yeah.
I feel like he's probably busy playing Destiny 2 as opposed to.
If anyone doesn't know, he's a very big gamer.
Yeah.
John Carpenter is.
And it's got a bit of an 80s vibe. I wonder if they'll really lean into that. The trailer, like other than the music, didn't lean into sort of that kind of 80s horror as much as I thought it would. But I think there's a lot of potential there.
There is potential.
Again, it was a nice surprise, like a genuine surprise, which. From the conversation we had before the show, I don't think any of us were expecting that many, like, where did that come from?
Yeah, exactly. That one's set for 2024, and it's current gen only. So at least it's, going to be presumably taking full advantage of PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S. Max, tell us a little bit more about Sandland. This is a one-off manga.
So this is Akira Toriyama, creator of Dragon Ball, worked on Chrono Trigger. He's been attached to Dragon Quest, Dragon Warrior since day one. I don't know if he's a gamer himself, but he's, he I think dabbled with that back in the, Famicom days. This is a one-volume manga. I immediately hopped on Amazon to see if it's in print. It's not. Apparently, it was released as like an ebook. You can get it on Kindle.
Okay.
Again, this doesn't have a bunch of lore to go with it, really. Like, it's got some. I wrote a column a couple months ago about how Dragon Ball Z Kakarot had me really wishing they would do a prequel about like classic Dragon Ball, where not everybody can turn into a neon god and teleport and whatever. And this clearly is kind of what I wanted. Like, I love Toriyama's mechanical designs. Like, he's got really cool tanks. He's got like hovercrafts. He's got these. It's goofy. It's the goofy side of things. It's not it's not the fate of the world from what I can tell. There's some big monsters. It's Unreal 5, and Damon, you were like, how is it using Unreal 5? And that kind of remains to be seen. But It's definitely got some interesting like lighting and particle effects. It looks like there's some clouds of dust getting kicked up, which pair really interestingly with the cell shading.
I really love the aesthetic of this game. Yeah. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, no, I think that Toriyama kind of got pigeonholed having to do Goku for 40 years or whatever, and as much as I love Dragon Ball, it's like that's a mech that is in Dragon Ball, so it's kind of cool to see that pop up here. But yeah, it's an unknown quantity. Like, I would love to do like, an open world Dragon Ball game. Sure, I know that story like the back of my hand. I have no idea what's going on here.
Right.
So
yeah, I'm trying to guess what the gameplay genre is. Open world, action adventure game.
It's like, I think it's vehicle combat, beat 'em up, something like that.
Our news team tells us that it's a mix of action vehicles and fighting game mechanics.
Okay, that's interesting.
Sure.
I really like this because let's face it, there were a lot of games in this event that looked very, very similar.
Sure.
And this one didn't. And I think, for me, the stuff that really stood out was the stuff that wasn't sort of brown with lots of blood, or there was a lot of medieval stuff. Like, apparently we're going through a medieval phase in upcoming games at the moment. And what I love about this is it's a bold artistic approach. It's a different kind of game. It doesn't seem like really dark and kind of miserable the way so many games look like they are.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of looking the same, I want to talk about Palworld. It seems like the developers said, what if we made Pokemon with guns? And that's literally what the game is.
Yeah, I feel like Game Freak lawyers are making some phone calls right now. It is egregious how close some of these designs are to existing Pokemon.
It's true.
And then the firearms are just full-on realistic weaponry, which is like, okay, why not? Yeah, sure.
I mean, we just a few weeks ago at the PlayStation Showcase got Foam Stars, which is an egregious rip-off of Splatoon. But yeah, this is like even more lawyer triggering.
Yeah, but it also looks like totally different type of gameplay. And people are often like, I want the big open world Pokemon game. And it's like, we get one, but Game Freak typically doesn't get too crazy with, modern iterations. But, we're almost 30 years out from Pokemon, and it's interesting to see people who grew up with it kind of giving it their own spin. Yeah. They could give it maybe more of a spin, but whatever. I mean,
Pikachu on this should be a VO line in the game.
Maybe that's our strap line on the review. I'm kind of into it though. Like we can kid, but like I'm not really a Pokemon guy. Maybe it was the guns that was missing for me. Maybe this is what we'll find.
You needed firearms with
That's
your pocket
just a
monsters?
Gyarados. That's straight up just a Gyarados. What are they?
Well, what's funny about this, the official description says that Palworld is a game about living a slow life with mysterious creatures, pal, or throwing yourself into life and death battles with poachers. Living a slow life or life and death battles.
Oh wow.
Huh.
Okay.
You can make pals.
Social commentary going on there? I'm not sure.
You can make pals fight. So maybe this is like against their will. They're being made to do this. Make them, breed as well. And then they can help you with farming or work in factories. It says, this is real. This is real. You can sell them off or even slaughter them to eat.
Okay.
It says with an exclamation point.
So they took Pokemon at face value and they were like, let's actually unpack this a little bit. They live in balls and they fight each other.
You see this? So I'm looking at this official.
Make them eat each other.
Yeah, they eat
I'm
each
looking
other.
at its Steam page, and there's gifs of the game here, and the pals are eating each other.
That's just a Lapras eating a Piplup.
Yep.
Like that's
Yep.
they.
I want to read these two sentences again. You can also sell them off or even slaughter them to eat. That, however, is forbidden by law.
Oh.
So there's
Oh, thank God.
there's a law system in it? Are you gonna get like 5 stars for eating your Pikachu? Like what?
Well, survival. This
guess-
world is full of dangers such as food shortages, harsh weather, and illegal poachers. You must be prepared to do anything if you want to survive. You may even need to consume pals sometimes. Fly, swim, dig holes. You can explore all kinds of places on lands, the sea, and in the sky by riding pals. Palworld.
I'm interested.
I am too.
That went from being like, what are they doing over here, to like, how in God's name are they gonna pull this off?
Again, Pikachu on this, literally.
Okay, there is more Summer of Gaming to come right here on IGN, so stick around.
IGN Summer of Gaming is presented by Immortals of Avium, available July 20th on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S.
Welcome back to Next Gen Console Watch right here on IGN Summer of Gaming. As we wrap things up for the show, we saw a ton of games today. I want to hear from each of us. Find out which game we're personally the most excited for. Your game of the show, if you will. It seems like the audience favorite so far, at least in terms of numbers that are being put up on IGN, is Mortal Kombat 1. It definitely seems like the most popular game. People are super, super excited for it. What they showed off today focused a lot on the cameo fighters. We got a little bit more information on those here. So these are sort of like assist fighters that you can call in to help you out during a match. Cameo fighters are chosen during the character select screen after choosing your main fighter and can be called out multiple times during a fight to assist with a single button press. Any character can be combined with any other cameo fighter, allowed for deeper customization of movesets, more interesting possibilities for combo building, and some cameo fighters are available in the main roster, so yes, you can combine Sub-Zero and Sub-Zero. Should be very interesting. While others are unique to just the cameo roster. And so the known cameo fighters so far are Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Sonya Blade, Kano, Goro, Kung Lao, Stryker, and Jax Briggs. So
it seems like the cameo stuff is kind of where all the retro stuff is going to live, and then, yeah, because like even the costumes were sort of very old school as well.
I think they're gonna have you swapping. I feel like they're usually pretty good about letting you play dress up when you want to. My big question is, will you be able to play the entire story with Johnny Cage in the Van Damme skin with the Van Damme voice? Because that sounds amazing.
yeah, it remains to be seen whether or not the Van Damme skin and voice shows up in like the campaign, the story mode. But that would be very cool. What I want to know is, since the cameo fighters are such a big feature here, are there going to be cameo fatalities? Like team up fatalities?
Seems like probably not, but then again,
Well, I like it, and I think
I'm not a game designer.
Ed Boon is a big fan of Next Gen Console Watch, so Ed, please,
Yeah.
if there's still time to implement that feature, I would appreciate it.
I'm stoked for this game. This is such a safe bet. You know, like Mortal Kombat, like NetherRealm was, I feel like, pretty much earned our trust. Like there was a second there where I think Mortal Kombat didn't know what it was doing exactly, but pretty much like, I don't know, a good the last handful of games have seemed very confident and very clear with what they want to be. And yeah,
Like we were talking about earlier, it's a 30-year-old franchise now, and it remains relevant. Like it had the zenith of its popularity in like the early and mid '90s, and the games kept coming, but its popularity waned during the 2000s. But, you know, in the 2010s, it came roaring back, and it's just more popular than ever.
9, 10, and 11 have all been huge.
Yeah.
It's really telling that NetherRealm had been going back and forth a little bit between Mortal Kombat and Injustice, and they didn't do that here. They didn't go to Injustice 3. They went back to Mortal Kombat, which, you know, either says they were creatively excited to just keep, you know, to do this reboot that we now know is a you know, new universe reboot, or, you know, could certainly be a sales thing, whether they just thought Mortal Kombat has a much higher sales potential than Injustice does, even though Injustice is no slouch on its own, and the numbers on IGN that we were getting told to us between segments there are certainly indicative that they made the right call on that front.
Like 500,000 in the first hour.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Bonkers. I love this series because it has become like M-rated Super Smash Bros. Like we're inevitably going to get a bunch of other ridiculous side characters popping up, in addition to, you know, Homelander and Omni-Man and Jean-Claude Van Damme.
With Street Fighter crossing over with Triceratopses and Mortal Kombat getting Homelander, maybe someday we are inching closer to the Street Fighter Mortal Kombat crossover.
I mean, we got Street Fighter cross Tekken, so
Yeah.
not that far out of the realm of possibility. So Mortal Kombat 1 is out September 19th. Ryan, you were just sort of rattling off all the games that are coming out in September.
That we know of so far. We're looking at Starfield, Witchfire, Lies of P, and Mortal Kombat 1.
Yeah.
All in September.
Wow.
Clear your calendars.
Yeah, it's just what an incredible year for gaming it has been so far. Okay, our personal picks for game of the show. Max, let's start with you. What was your favorite?
I really like Sandland. Like, I'm really excited about this game. It also looks like an open world game where you're a demon with a tank, but also, like, you know, to my point, I think it looks smaller. You know, like, I don't think this isn't going to be a Tears of the Kingdom scale experience. This isn't going to be another Elden Ring. Like, it looks like you know, a fun time to goof around, you know, beat the crap out of some scorpions, drive a hovercraft. You know, it's an aesthetic that I love from a creator I love, but it's a universe I'm not familiar with at all. So, you know, it's something familiar yet unfamiliar at the same time. And yeah, I'm not even sure who's working on it. I should, you know, dig into this a little bit. Another franchise I love is the Yakuza series, which I feel like I kind of like. I love Like a Dragon, with all due respect to Ichiban. He's great, but Kiryu is very near and dear to my heart. He basically retired in Yakuza 6. That was supposed to be his whole swan song. That was it. And then he popped up, you know, made a little guest appearance. And this is the Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name, but we're all well aware that his name is Kiryu. Yeah, I don't know. There's too many good games. Like, there's too many games to play. It's bonkers.
I've got some more official information on Sandland. It's being developed by Ilka, which is, I think, they did Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. And then they've done support for Dragon Quest and some Ace Combat games as well, because it's being published by Bandai Namco. And the official word says you dive into a desert world where both humans and demons suffer from an extreme water shortage. Play as and watch the Fiend Prince Beelzebub, Sheriff Rao, and Demon Thief set off on an adventure in search of a legendary spring hidden in the desert.
Sure. Not enough water. I'm into it.
Okay, so Sandland, Max's pick. Let's see, John, what was your pick for game of the show?
I think, I mean, like, there's the obvious stuff like Mortal Kombat and Spider-Man I think look amazing, but for me, and this was the same at opening night live at Gamescom, I think it's Lies of P.
Wow.
I thought, and I was genuinely surprised by this trailer in that it kind of expanded on what I thought it was. I thought, like, from the last trailer, I thought it was very clearly aping Bloodborne and trying to fill the Bloodborne gap that we're all feeling. But it seems from today that it's so much more than that. And, like, the design of the creatures looks really fantastic. That thing with the crown at the end, I thought that was sort of like wooden and robotic, and like the way that they're bringing the puppet imagery in and kind of making it these kind of like creepy constructions and stuff. I just think it looks, I mean, look at it. It's fantastic.
It looks like Bloodborne and it looks like BioShock, but in a way that also looks like its own thing.
Yeah.
I
am very bad at this kind of game, but
you count yourself as a fan of Souls-like games.
Not really, no. They frustrate me endlessly because I'm too old and my reaction times aren't good enough. But something about this I want to like the design. There's BioShock, and then there's that thing that looks like it's wearing an English police helmet that was crawling up the building. Has what was the game that
We
came
Happy
out?
Few.
We Happy Few
yeah,
aesthetic, right? Where there's lots of things that are a little bit unsettling visually, and like this trailer's just full of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of excitement for this game. I don't think there are that many very popular Souls-like games that aren't made by FromSoft. There's like Neo comes to mind, the Star Wars Jedi games.
Lords of the Fallen,
Lords of
the
the
original
Fallen, yeah.
incarnation,
Sure,
had done very well 7-8 years ago.
Yeah, Remnant, which is getting a sequel. There was, God, what's the one that was really extremely bleak? Oh my God, Mortal Shell.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I'm wondering what the scale of this game is going to be, and I think it's totally forgivable if it's not, quite as beefy as your usual FromSoft game.
Is that
because
Monstro too, by the way?
I hope not.
Submarine?
I want
But
a
real
proper
Monstro.
monster. If he's a submarine, I'm disappointed. I'm canceling my pre-order for this game that's on Game Pass.
Okay, Ryan, your game of the show.
Well, I already cheated and gave it to you earlier, but it's still Alan Wake 2. Yeah, there was some good stuff today. I mean, I'd give an honorable mention shout out to Warhammer, to Space Marine 2.
Oh,
that
yeah.
Looked like that. I mean, that looked awesome. That just looked like a fun time. But I'm coming back to Alan Wake 2. I mean, it's a game that I had pretty honestly given up on ever getting the long-awaited sequel for after whatever it is, 12, 13 years now. So the fact that it's happening and that it's, Remedy, I think, again, I think they're an underrated developer. They've only, to my opinion, is they have exactly one blemish on their resume in their entire 20-something year existence, and it was they did the not super great, totally forgettable campaign for the very forgettable Xbox game Crossfire X. That Smile Bit?
Smile
Gate?
Smile Gate.
I always confuse
Smile
those
Bit's
two.
the Sega
Did
thing.
it was their game, they did the multiplayer, and they contracted Remedy to do a single player campaign. I played it, I just didn't think it was that good. But literally everything else that Remedy's ever done has been at worst really good and at best phenomenal. The first two Max Payne games.
Why had you given up on it? Because like for me, I've always, and it's weird because it's not now. I've always thought of Alan Wake as firmly an Xbox game because it's you associated with the Xbox 360 so much.
Did
Right.
Microsoft publish it?
They did.
Yeah. Okay.
And they parted ways as a exclusive partner with Remedy a long time ago, and it just didn't seem like any other publishers wanted to pick the game up and do the sequel. So I just, I didn't think it was ever going to happen because, this is, as you can see, this is not a low budget game. Like there's a lot going into this. And so that is, and the first one sort of famously didn't sell well at the time, and then Remedy has since said that like it kind of was one of those word of mouth things where over time it ended up putting up some good numbers. So just, when you look at the business of the video game industry, which sadly is extraordinarily risk averse, especially in the AAA space, that's why I honestly said I had given up on this ever happening. So when this was announced, I was thrilled, and now that I'm actually seeing it and it's this close, like it looks every bit worth the wait. I mean, it looks fantastic.
On a similar note, I don't think anyone expected a third season of Twin Peaks like 18 years later or whatever, but yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's I guess it's almost approaching that point where people are nostalgic for the original.
Yeah.
Ryan, do you think we have the success of Control to thank for the fact that we're getting Alan Wake 2?
I mean, did Control even sell that well? Because it was.
It won a lot of awards.
From us, from Game of the Year.
Yeah.
But hey, anything it helped bring Alan Wake's name kind of back into the public consciousness, and for that, I am thankful. And Control, by the way, great game. You should play it if you haven't played it already.
Well, I'm also very excited for Alan Wake 2, but my pick's going to go to Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. That was a nice, very pleasant surprise of the show. Was not expecting that at all. I like Prince of Persia games in general, and I also very much like Metroidvania games, so seems like definitely right up my alley. It'd be interesting to see. Ubisoft is not known for making Metroidvania games, but I really like the look of it, and from all the description of how Ubisoft describes the game, it seems like they're hitting all the right notes.
It's the right
for what a
studio
Metroidvania should be.
inside of Ubisoft.
Which one is it?
It's Montpellier.
Oh, okay.
Who did the Rayman Legends.
That's right, yeah. That's right, yeah. This looks really cool. I just hope they sort of like follow the template that something like Metroid Dread established for, a sort of AAA 2D Metroidvania game from a huge publisher. Is this on your radar, Ryan?
It is now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you just reminded me, like we were just talking about Alan Wake 2, which Epic is publishing, so we have Epic to thank for funding this thing. And then, now you're talking about this pleasant surprise of Prince of Persia coming back as a Metroidvania. You're just reminding me that we need to fuse those two. We need Epic to let Donald Mustard and Team
Shadow
Chair
Complex.
make Shadow Complex too.
Wow, yeah.
That's another one that
Yeah.
another Metroidvania that I would like to will into existence after many, many, many years.
I think Shadow Complex 2 is designed in like to completion, basically. It just never got made. I think it's all on pieces of paper.
Even worse.
Yeah, at Epic.
To a degree.
How would we grade the show after now that another Summer Game Fest is in the rearview mirror? About 2 hours long, lots and lots of games.
Nobody wants to go first, huh? All right. I mean,
I'll go first.
Go ahead.
I'll give it a C.
C, okay.
Yeah.
It was decent. It felt like there was quite a lot of filler.
Lots of filler, yes.
The peaks were good, but they weren't like blow it out of the water good.
Sure.
It was solid and competent and above a pass, but like I don't think it was like, oh my god, did you see Summer Game Fest?
I think you can maybe cut about half of it out.
Yeah.
Make it a tight hour, and then you've just got Mortal Kombat and Prince of Persia and Final Fantasy VII and Spider-Man 2 release dates and just the big hits.
A lot of it was very, like it's close. It's a reality. This wasn't a bunch of CG trailers. This wasn't a bunch of just sizzle.
Yeah.
Which I think, Geoff frequently has, some big reveal. I feel like Gamescom was very, very heavily CG late in last year.
Yeah.
So it was nice to see a bunch of stuff be like, here's gameplay, here's release dates. It's all stuff that feels achievable, realistic. That said, I'm kind of with you. We give it, we do it a lot here, but 7 out of 10.
I would say 7.
I mean, it was good and it was positive, and there were very few things that were like, no. Like in fact, the only no for me really was maybe the Twisted Metal thing, which wasn't even a game.
yeah.
So like, so I think generally it was there's a lot of really solid stuff coming.
Yeah, I mean, Geoff Keighley gets, for me, a lot of credit because first of all, he's doing this 3 times a year.
Yeah.
3 times, this, opening night live at Gamescom and the Game Awards. So, and I've helped work on smaller versions of this kind of thing at IGN before, and it's so much work to put it together, and just convincing developers and publishers to partner with you and trust you to show off their thing. And Geoff's trying to, he doesn't want to make it too top heavy where it's just Mortal Kombat and Final Fantasy and only the AAA highest caliber stuff. You got to have a nice mix and represent the entire industry. But yeah, inevitably, I think it's that tough line to walk where I agree. I mean, we could have had 30 minutes trimmed off of this and it would have been a much tighter show for the viewer. But again, I recognize and respect Geoff for trying to just showcase as much of the industry and give as many games, both big and small,
And
the chance
at
to
a
shine
time
as they
where they'd all backed away from the traditional event, right?
Yeah.
So it was sort of I would assume that it was doubly challenging because most of the industry had said, look, we don't want to do E3.
Right.
I think the biggest takeaway, the most important thing to keep in mind is that it is illegal to slaughter and eat the Pokemon with guns.